This day 763 of Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. By express our share more of Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Please send me directly. It would be very greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Simon Tav Samach Tes. See, hey, actually we did Simon Tav Samach Tes. Hey, last night. We didn't finish Simon. So now we're starting from Tav Ayin. Steve Aleph and going to Tav Ayin Aleph, Steve Gimel. Tav Ayin. Din Tanis B'charim Ber Pesach. Aleph, Isa Misos of well, translate that. Of the fast of the firstborn on Erev Pesach. Aleph, Isa Misos Seifrim. The Ain Misam and Isa, we don't fast during this. B'char B'charim Pesach only the firstborn on Erev Pesach. But soon we may have matzah kadesh yikosu above the table. And people who are modest, humble, but here means obviously diligent in mitzvahs. Fast, so the matzah they should have a good appetite for the matzah that evening. Ayin Sham. The B'charim is Zecher Makas. B'charos, the B'charim fast in order to commemorate Makas. B'charos. But Stum here, the Kavana, the Arukh HaShulchan says Stum here means at least in Nisim. He says not necessarily an issue of being righteous or humble or modest. They are people who are very sensitive. When they eat during the day, they don't eat at night with any gusto. He's a Gemara of Sheshes Haviyos with Tanis Kom Ayom at the Pischa. Sheshes would sit and fast the entire day of Erev Pesach. Shum the Eastern Sava because he was sensitive. The Yudoim Midi B'Tzafcha. He would eat something in the morning. Lo Mahani Le Mechel Orta. His eating at night would not be particularly pleasant for him. Shan Reish Arusam Isa Rebbe Lo Ava Ochel Lo Ochel Erev Pesach Chulei. Rebbe not eating Erev Pesach. Begin to have a Bechor because he was firstborn. Rabbi Yonah, Abba Hava B'chor Hava Achil. It says that Rabbi Yonah, he was his father, Rabbi Mara, was B'chor would eat. So it sounds here initially that the Yerushalmi said about times B'choros. Elamir then the Gemara deflects that and says no. Rabbi Yonah was a B'chor, but he ate. Elamir the reason why people don't eat is Rabbi Isni Sava, Rabbi Yonah, because he's very sensitive. When he ate during the day, lo achil, we're not going to eat at night. The lama lo have a achil, so why didn't he eat during the day? Kadei sheikon is the matzah b'taiva, so he should have an appetite for matzah. Vavgan lishim eatnis ain't tzarchtainis. If in terms of if it's sensitive, not to fast. Kasla taste the shom is el shom. Nevertheless, it tastes right. V'sheish abiyas hanisa lav dafka. He wouldn't specifically fast, but he would curtail his eating. Inami a makabla love time mamish tainis, or else he actually would accept upon himself a true fast. They should nizkar and nizami lachol, so should remember and be careful not to eat. Ad kan l'shona. End quote. Bracket says here, Rosh Shekos Sheish Smach Yerushalmi. So difficult. The Rosh says there's a source from Yerushalmi for times b'choros, so you have maskonen. Okay, that's not the conclusion of the Gemara. Based on PT, the Masechah Soim Kosa Taisus Vatuva Shalom Shabchoy Misanim Ber Pesach. Bein b'chor me'ah, bein b'chor me'em. Both on the Masechah, based on Masechah Sofrim, Tosis, the two Shulchan write that the firstborn fast on Erev Pesach, whether they are firstborns of the father's side or firstborn on the mother's side. Komish Shem b'chor, if anybody has a Chalei Shem b'chor, or b'chor l'nachla, whether he's a b'chor in terms of receiving double the portion, so it's b'chor for the mother, or b'chor l'kohen, or b'chor which has to be deemed by a kohen. Come b'chorim, such b'chor for a mother, misana fast. In the time they go komine b'chorim. In Egypt, all sorts of b'chorim were killed. Ben me'av, ben me'em, whether they're firstborn of the father or the mother. Which means Rashi pasuk ki ein ba'is shon shames. Rashi explained there in Chumash. V'gam gora ba'is mikrim b'chorim, and also the eldest in the house is called b'chor as well. Ayin sham b'Rashi. So Moshe says that nevertheless the Gadol HaBayis is not required to fast, even though the Makkah pertained also to them, because it's primarily on the B'chairim. Says in Tehillim Kapitel Ayin Ches that Hashem smote in Egypt the first of the strength which means first strength of the father, in the tents of Cham. Rashis Onohum B'chor Mi'av. The first strength is known as pertaining to the B'chor on the father's side. You can see like it says, Ki hu Rashis Ono. He is the first strength of the father. Lo Mishpat B'chor. Therefore, he has the the law of the Bechor. Yaakov, Amar Ruvain, Yaakov said about Ruvain, he is my strength, and he is my power, and the first of my strength. Being close, nevertheless, the Kaddish Bechor is Lutzi Bakosh Baruch Hu Bechor Mehem. And when it comes to, even though there's a Bechor Me'ov, in terms of Kiddush Bechoros, that they have to be redeemed, the Kosh Baruch only command that on a Bechor from the mother. They shpetz rechem because it opens the womb. It says the logic is, interesting logic, Arukh HaShulchan gives, because Kosh Baruch Hu said Bechor Adam and also Bechor Behema is Kaddish. Behema l'shayach pet the rechem come by an animal. It's not really shayach to know who the father is. So therefore, all we know is the firstborn in terms of opening the womb. And it's kind of a little plug. Also, Bayum, it's therefore only the pet rechem who has kedushas bechor, not the bechor from the father, only the bechor from the mother. Those who say that the keva bechora nisanes, even a female firstborn give fast on their Pesach. Shevadim is saying, "Hey, nergu makas bechor." They were certainly also going to makas bechor. Right, the medrash oimer. As the Medrash Rabbah says, the Basi Abbas Paro needs love b'schus Moshe. The Basi daughter Paro was saved in the merit of Moshe. I'm going to go to Kevo say some makah b'choros. So we see that also by the women there was makas b'choros. Mikom and Aminokin. Nevertheless, that's not the custom. Because Kosh Baruch only commanded for the firstborn males be sanctified, not the firstborn females. A child who's born after a stillborn child has to fast because it's going to still be a bechor for the inheritance. Mishnah Berurah points out that it's only if the person was a definite miscarriage. But if the first one's born after 9 months, even though he died within 30 days, so then the prior assumption is that he's the bechor, and the second one does not have to fast. Even though that within 30 days. They establish a 30 days, still we assume that for this purpose. Back to Shulchan became Bechorim, Kohanim, Levim, also the Bechorim of Kohanim and Levim. Certainly, it's also have to pass Abishem Bam, Pinach HaMeshloim, even though they don't get redeemed for five Shloim, like a Bechor of Yisrael. Logrim Bechor Be'or. They're no worse than a Bechor from a father who fasts even though he's not redeemed. Yeah. There are 10 Bechorim davening together. Those they shall shout to Maranenu. Should see what to say Nenu, like a tiny seaboard. It's not appropriate to do that. You can't have a contained seaboard because then it's taka like a public fast. If it's out of you can't make a public fast on this. Yachrim Maranenu b'shomer tefillah. If an individual is fasting, he says Anenu b'shomer tefillah v'anchoring by Yachal. And they don't read Vayachal as well. To the laning. Mishnah Berurah, however, says, interestingly, that if a Bechor Shnei Tzibur, he says, Anenu by Shemat Tefillah in Mincha. Nevertheless, it's best if Bechor should not be Shnei Tzibur. When 10 Bechorim daven together, even 10 Bechorim daven together, because it's not appropriate to mention that. Because behold, it's not appropriate to single out as a tiny seed. Dav Yuchal Erev Pesach Shabbos, Erev Pesach comes Shabbos, no again B'Cholim Lisanos, Yom Chamishi Yifon have the custom of times because it takes place on Thursday prior. Yeshiv some say, "Oh, once it's not applicable, it's pushed off. It's pushed off." Sharei Eno Minik is only custom. I'm a Minik Lisanos Kisvar Rishona, but the Minik is to fast. I've never actually heard of anybody fasting in times Bechoros. Even people of Bechoros missed to see him. They don't fast usually because it's not dinner the Gemara. But he says the minig is to fast on a Friday, Thursday. Famous time by Shabbos don't fast on Friday. Shabbos you don't went to Shabbos when you are afflicted. The only exception is of course Asar B'Teves. The Mishnah Berurah says if it comes out that Pesach is first time Pesach is Friday night. So they do fast on Erev Shabbos, on that Friday. Shemasayim b'yom hey, we fast on Thursday, but tzarich livdog chametz, and you have to check chametz. Koshel of the to move him to the fast difficult. Yochli Tom Kar B'dika should be able to be allowed to eat a little bit for the B'dika, even though normally we frown upon that. Because I made our mother Nagim Shah B'chor, because when the father's B'chor, interesting. The minute we don't have. When the father's a B'chor, the mother, the mother fasts for her young child who's B'chor, being Ein, her B'chor, the father's son B'chor, Ha'ab Misaneh, Ba'abanot Shigdal, he fasts for his son until he grows up, Ad Kan Lashono, Enkof, Achshav, Leika Minag Zeh, we no longer have this minute. In other words, that the mother ever fasts. The Shmuel says if your child is not yet 30 days, you don't have to fast for him. Shmuel says about the mother fasting, some posts can write that she doesn't have to fast because the kindness of the father, even though his B'chor, can also work for the son. The place where she has anguish, she certainly can be lenient, and certainly if she is pregnant or nursing and she has anguish from the kindness, she can be lenient even if she doesn't have a husband to fast for her son. Also, a woman gave birth, the first 3 days she should not fast in any event. But if she started to fast one time for the child, then it would be a neder and require HaTorah. Okay, we never heard such a thing. Hey, Bris Mila Pina Ben Yochel B'chor Lechol. If a B'chor has a bris or a Pina Ben, he can eat. Some people say only the people who are relevant to the mitzvah. Come about bris, such as the father, the sandik, and the sandik and the moel, chayotzabeim, and people similarly being first person participants in the bris. Mishnah says, "Machmir." According to this, the person wants to eat in the Pina Ben or bris milah, he has to have Torah's Nedarim. If he hadn't had that custom, if he had been machmir previously, or because there is such a chum in the world, except for the moil and the standing of the father of the son. Nevertheless, it was very big chumrah. Shmuel says they have to make up the fast they missed after Pesach. Shatzion says they can eat. Anybody who's there, actually, at the bris can eat. Anybody who's eating for fasting for his son can eat, even though he's not one of the people in the main party of the bris. He's nowhere to see him, as we're about to see. Those who say that make a chodim sudas mitzvah, you see that's what Bishop Burgess said, and anybody can eat a sudas mitzvah, not just the Baal bris. No matter as a kamaderes, several generations of Garmi times B'chayim, completely millennium. Times B'chayim minor B'siyum Masechta. We're okay with the siyum. V'lo b'vada loimed, not just the person who learns B'chayim B'skapti Savim, and Messiah B'chayim is cluster around them. Simon and they make the siyum with them B'chayim and they eat. Mishabur says minutes that they gather around the Messiah before him. Simon is assigned the Messiah in front of them, and they listen and they participate in the siyum, and then they make the suda. Okay, back to Shum. These parts of B'chol Minah became widespread in all countries. Nobody knows why. Once we established that there's such a thing, why we're so lenient. That's we say, because the generation is much weaker and there's a lot of work to do on our Pesach. Also, eating the maror is not healthy. So to eat that, I guess, on an empty stomach would be bad. They would consider themselves like people who can't fast. And so again, since the Gemara doesn't mention times B'chayim, and we come to Yisham, it's called the Eev Tzirchli, Ein Tzirchli Sanos, the conclusion of Yisham is don't have to ask times B'chayim. Then the minig of P Masechet Seifrim, it's only minig based on Masechet Seifrim. Chen lo michu chachmei aderu b'zeh. So the Chacham generation were not meicha on the minig to use a siyum to be meiko. It's Arachim. Arukh HaShulchan is not 100% happy with that. Tavai Nalef. Ber Pesach achar shasiris also lechol. At Pesach after an hour may not eat. Aleph Shonachal Mishnah. Chacham does in Mishnah. Arvi Psalm Samach Mincha Pesach, adjacent to Mincha, which is really should be like before the 10th hour. Oh, the 10th hour means the beginning of 10th hour. After 9 hours, like 3 p.m. on the equinox day. Jason Mincha, Ad Shitachshach, they show Hamatzah Shul Mitzvah Te'avan, in order to eat the matzah mitzvah with an appetite. We should do the mitzvah, because that is to do the mitzvah in a more proper way. Meaning, even though it's true that somebody eats a matzah when he's already satisfied, he may know I feel it's as long as it's not for him a coarse form of eating. Meaning that his soul finds the eating disgusting. Well, so comes great satisfaction. Let's see the chavas matzah. You have to fulfill the obligation of matzah. Meaning Nazir, Rabbi Pesach, Vudin Matzah, like it says by Nazir. It says Nazir by Pesach, and the same thing with Shua Matzah. Unless it's not mitzvah done the best way. The mitzvah they should be almost ravished, famished, famished, and eat with appetite. Base. This is not to eat by mincha. This means adjacent to mincha ketana. The imitation shows ulamala. It's 9 hours and beyond. The teisho mechza havis mincha ketana because the time mincha ketana is 9.5. The samach mincha, therefore the adjacent to mincha, it's the end of the 9th hour, beginning of the 10th hour. That's the conclusion of the Gemara. Yesh because of those say Yesh Lachim and Samach Mincha Gedoyla. Shmach already from the Chatzos, right for Mincha Gedoyla. Came for Mediva Rabbeinu Ramah Kaman Simon Red Taf Reish Lam Tes Erev Sukkos, and Ramah uses that by Erev Sukkos because of Dumya Dachilas Matzah. He writes it similar to eating matzah. The Amitation Madagam with Kandai took it. It's possible Ramah is the same thing here. The Mashliga Kandai which you didn't here put a gloss. There's something which we eat anyway after Chatzos and Pesach. So you're not eating. The chametz matzah sur chametz matzah was also be'eni suraka matzah shiva, and it sounds like a typo. It's only had to be matzah shira, but we don't eat matzah shira. We don't eat neck matzah because that was similar to tough sour base. Mashrim Erev Sukkot post to Erev Sukkot when there is what to eat. So I have told you not to eat. The Meister Erev Pesach is allowed to eat too, but I guess means no bread. The nearest Shakol Fi Mashrodim logic dictates this. Every person is different. The Madina, the Gemara, according to the law of the Gemara, Ein Yisrael Raksham B'Kamin Kedana. Prohibition is only adjacent to Mincha Ketana, which is 10 hours, the 9th beginning and 9th in 10th hour. Many people eat after Chatzos. They're not going to eat the kazayis and matzah that evening with gusto. I assume because these people certainly may not eat anymore after Chatzos, at least not significant amounts. Prohibition does not pertain to chametz. Now eat the chametz no matter what. Matzah with which you eat the mitzvah is also also Pesach. Anybody eats matzah on the eve of Pesach, but since he has relations with his fiancée in his father-in-law's house, he's to be Yerushalmi. You don't need matzah in their Pesach. Matzah shira. So the prohibition specifically pertains to egg matzah. Amiyah tagima, but all sorts of other types of sweets. Mutar le'achol eat. Not just sweets, non-bread items. Basar b'dagim like meat and fish, peros, yirakos, and fruit and vegetables. Shmuel says also eggs. Bashlim ali kreis them as long as you don't fill up your stomach with them. If it's sensitive, shafil ochamat, even if it needs a little bit, mazigal b'klas, or damage them with inam, hakol usr. So usr. Mazigal mushelos have a community targima. Cooked matzah, knegel, is like community targima, which is permissible. the Mishnah says the five types of grain which are cooked in fruit juice is also. Mishnah says a matzah which is cooked in a kli rishon you're allowed to eat before the 10th hour on Erev Pesach. Anyway, it's my main Pascal matzah shira, but which is only on type of bread like egg matzah, or made peros mayim, or some other form of adulterated matzah, davi gankin matzah shira, which is also has the same halacha as egg matzah.